Yeah, I mean, it matters. Experience matters in this league. But that's one of the positives of Nick Sirianni to me, um, early in this season. And obviously, we're getting late into his first season now. We're in the second half. But he seems to be learning from those mistakes from week to week. He doesn't seem to be repeating a lot of mistakes from week to week. But you go through that, and this is one where there's a chance that Sean Payton's going to teach him something, to be honest.
You got your Mac and Mac guys, Jon McMullen and Jody McDonald here with you on Birds 365. Countdown is on to the showdown between the Saints and the Eagles coming up on Sunday. As we continue to point out, sorry to say, Eagles looking for their first home win this year. They're 0 for 4, and they have lost to 4 good teams at home. It isn't like they choked up a game against a team that they came in with a more talented roster. As a matter of fact, they've been an underdog for all 4 of the games. Shoot, they've been an underdog in 9 of the 10 games they've played so far this year. Only game they were a favorite was on the road against the Sad Sack Lions.
They're favorite this week, aren't they?
Correct. This is their second favoritism of the year. Last I checked, it was holding tight at the Eagles as a 1.5 favorite. Opened as 1, clicked up to a 1.5, so the early money came in on the Eagles. It was holding at a 1.5 Eagles favoritism. So if you believe that the home field advantage accounts for 3 points on the wagering line, and then neutral field, the Saints would be a slightly favorite team against the Eagles. Here's something that I think we need to balance as well. You and I have both pointed out before when looking back at the results of the first 10 weeks of the season for the Eagles, they've done well when they seem to face a lesser light quarterback. If they're in against a legit guy, not so much. Week 1, I think they still beat a pretty damn good quarterback. Matt Ryan, not as consistent as he used to be, but not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. He's won some nice games for the Falcons this year. San Francisco, say what you want about Jimmy G. He was good enough to come in here and beat him, of course. Dak got the better of him. Sam Darnold, not great. Now injured, still throws a lot of INTs. Tell me about it. I know it. I watched him do it with the Jets. They were able to get the better of him. That Brady guy got the better of him. The Carr guy got the better of him. Yeah, they can beat Jared Goff, but everybody beats Jared Goff. And Justin Herbert did a good job against him before they faced off against Teddy Bridgewater. It makes sense to look at it through the prism of the opposing quarterback. How about the prism of the opposing coach? When they faced off against coaches with some success under their belts, the Eagles have struggled this year. Rookie head coach against Atlanta, they got a way to win. San Francisco's head coach already been to a Super Bowl. Dallas's head coach already been to a Super Bowl and won. Kansas City's head coach. Who is that guy again? Who's the Chiefs coach? Oh, that's right. Andy Reid. Yes. We're a little familiar with him. Already been to a Super Bowl. Yeah, they couldn't beat the Chiefs and Andy Reid. You see the point I'm trying. Tampa, of course, just won it last year with Bruce Arians. Whole bunch of coaches that have already won a Super Bowl. How the Eagles doing against them so far this year? That would be an offer. The guy who's coming to town has got a pelt on the wall this week, Jon McMullen. Sean Payton's got a Super Bowl victory under his belt. That does not bode well for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Experience matters in the coaching profession. That thing went viral. I don't know if you saw it, but Deion Sanders called Mike Zimmer during one of his press
conference. Yes, yeah. I did see that.
And if you watch the whole thing at the very end, Deion, Coach Prime, as he likes to be called.
He likes to be called, yes.
Yeah. Said, I knew you weren't losing to that guy, rookie head coach. He mentioned something about a rookie head coach and Brandon Staley. And, Mike Zimmer's not some of the coaches you mentioned. He tends to find ways to lose games, but he's been coaching for a while. He's made the playoffs a bunch. Yeah, I mean, it matters. Experience matters in this league. But that's one of the positives of Nick Sirianni to me, um, early in this season. And obviously, we're getting late into his first season now. We're in the second half, but he seems to be learning from those mistakes from week to week. He doesn't seem to be repeating a lot of mistakes from week to week. But you go through that, and this is one where there's a chance that Sean Payton's going to teach him something. To be honest, who's seen it all, done it all, been there, had great teams, had fought through some mediocre teams, and he had that 7-9, I think, stretch, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9, where it looked like Jeff Fisher. Lot to this job, and once you've been through it, once you've done all that, yeah, you tend to have an advantage when you have a Sean Payton type as your head coach versus a rookie head coach. That's just part of it. It's part of the growing pains, and we've been talking about that since the off season. What number show is this, Jody? We probably brought that up.
That would be number one. Shoot, what are we up to? 159.
159. We probably talked about that at least 20 times. But I think it's all positive from the standpoint of Nick Sirianni keeps learning, keeps getting a little bit better. But yeah, if you're going to be honest and say who's got the advantage from a coaching perspective this week, it's you're lying to yourself if you don't think it's the New Orleans Saints.
Let me ask about this because I just saw it in passing. It was either on a computer or on the NFL Network. I don't remember which. Apologize for that. Zimmer being interrupted in the middle of a Zoom call with the media, getting a call from Deion Sanders or Coach Prime. Number one, where did they cross paths? Does that go all the way back to
Dallas, yeah.
when Deion was playing for
Oh
the
yeah,
Cowboys?
they're really tight. Yeah.
Good for those two guys. And number two, did Zim get old or what? Maybe it's those Zoom calls are not flattering, but
Well,
I
he
don't.
is old. Well,
I
number
don't
one.
remember him looking as old as he did on this Zoom call.
Well, he's
The
had a
season's
tough.
beating him
Yeah,
down.
it's like the presidency, man. When you lose, I mean, they've lost so many games, one score games. They lost overtime games. They had a fumble in overtime. They missed a 37-yard kick, or they would have beat Arizona on the road. Um, yeah, I mean, they've had a tough season, but I mean, I think he's 65, so he is old, number
Okay,
one.
I
But
just
yeah,
see he looked a little
that's
older than me than he usually does. And oh, by the way, Coach Zim, don't sweat it this week. You're going to get beat by at least 2 scores against the Packers, so it won't be
oh
something
yeah.
that will cause you to
Well,
look any older.
and he was, you know, where he really started was Dallas, obviously, and he was the secondary coach. So before he became the coordinator, so he and Dion have been really really tight for years.
I'd completely forgotten that. That was actually very funny. But I'm watching the video. I'm going, is that Zimmer really? When did he get that old that fast? He looked old. I apologize for that, Coach, but I'm giving you my honest evaluation. All right, Sean Payton has been the head coach of the New Orleans Saints 15 years or 15 seasons over 16 years because he had that 1 year he was allowed to take the year off.
Yeah, he was allowed.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it.
He's allowed to take some downtime, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact. But he has matched up against the Eagles 10 times in those 15 years. Guess as to Sean Payton's record in those 10 matchups.
That's a good question. I mean, the Eagles have had some six. I'm going to say 7-3.
Jon
Saints.
McMullen hits it right on the head. 7-3. Sean Payton against the Eagles in 10 matchups. Would you like to guess how many of those games are playoff games?
Well, certainly one. We know the Alshon Jeffrey drop recently when I was here. Two with Chip Kelly. 2-0 with Chip Kelly. Is there another one?
Oh, yeah. His first season as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. The Saints beat the Eagles under Andy Reid back in 2006. So Sean Payton in the playoffs against the Eagles is
3-0.
3-0. Yeah, 3 of those 7 wins have come in the postseason, which kind of adds to the gravitas of the number of wins that he's gotten. And he's an equal opportunity beater. He beat Andy Reid. He beat Chip Kelly. He beat Doug Peterson. This is his first chance against Nick Sirianni. He's kind of owned the Eagles coaches in the matchups over the last 15 seasons.
And by the way, I think I have to look this up, but I think the Eagles were his first professional coaching job when he was the quarterbacks coach here, way back.
With who? Who was he working under?
He would have been before Andy, so he would have been Ray Rhodes. He would have been
correct, Ray Rhodes. And who was the OC of that team?
It's a good question. Who was? I can't think offhand.
Guy who, much like Mr. Payton, is right now not being forced to coach.
Not being forced to coach. I'm
told he could take some downtime.
I'm drawing a blank.
Kind of dictated that he take some downtime.
Yeah, that's drawing a blank. Give it to me.
He was a coach on a team that the Eagles had played earlier this year, and he was told his services were no longer needed right before the Eagles played him.
You're making me look bad.
When you went to Vegas, think Vegas.
Oh, Jon Gruden.
Jon Gruden was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles.
You're making me look bad, man. Just give it to me. Throw me a life wrap. Come on. I'm dying here.
I'm sorry about that. The reason why I bring it up is, did anyone check Sean Payton's emails? If Gruden is sending out inappropriate emails to Bruce Allen, who's to say he didn't send him out to Coach Z as well?
Yeah. By the way, Jon Gruden obviously, is going to sue the NFL. Yeah, he's going to get a nice little settlement because this, the one thing about this league, they aren't putting anybody under deposition ever at any point. They'll gladly trade some money for that.
Correct. And, oh, by the way, because you'll remember that. I know we're getting aside, and fear not, Eagle fans, we'll get back to the Eagles in just a second. When Gruden came up with the agreement to step aside as the Raider coach, it was really pretty fast. I was actually surprised it came together as quickly as it did. And I said here on Birds 365 and anywhere else where I broadcast, he didn't walk away. He negotiated. It was a pretty quick and fast negotiation. But he was going to get paid. The Raiders were going to give him a good chunk of his money, and I was a little surprised that they were able to come to that kind of agreement as quickly as they did. Oh, I guarantee you it was because there was a lawyer there telling him, listen, John, we'll cut a deal. We'll get some of our money. Oh, we'll sue for the rest. We'll cover your butt. What they're doing here is just flat out wrong. Don't worry about the money. If this is too much and you don't want to fight the fight right now and you want to bring the organization down, or we can gently step aside and we'll still get you paid. Oh, I guarantee you that was the case.
Yeah, well, certainly I would say it's certainly the case. He got the money from the Raiders. Now he's looking for more money. He's looking for damages from the NFL because a lot of people think the NFL is behind the leaks, and obviously they've denied it. And we'll see how it shakes out. But this league has proven it does not want to be deposed, as I mentioned. So I like Jon Gruden's chances to get even more money. I did look it up. Jon Gruden was out by the time Sean Payton got here.
Was he? Okay.
It was Bill Musgrave who was the offensive coordinator. Sean Payton was the quarterback's coach. Actually, they had co-offensive coordinators, if you can believe that. Bill Musgrave's title was offensive coordinator / offensive assistant, and Dana Bible was the offensive coordinator. I remember
the Dana Bible era.
And quarterbacks coach Sean Payton. Juan Castillo was the offensive line coach by then. Ken Zampese was here as an assistant. Emmett Thomas, the great Emmett Thomas, DC, who, by the way, is a huge proponent of John Gannon was the defensive coordinator. Special teams coach Harbaugh was in place. It's a decent coaching staff that Ray Rhodes had. Some of them carried over, obviously.
Okay, not too shabby. I didn't know that Gruden had already gone on the Dana Bible era. They didn't know that name was going to pop up today.
Dana Bible.
Glad that it did. Let me ask you one more question on the Gruden NFL thing, because there's only one fly in the ointment as far as I'm concerned. If I'm consulting Roger Goodell in the NFL, which I'm not expecting the call. I've got my cell phone on. I don't think Raj is calling me before the morning comes and goes. Here's the only thing that doesn't make sense to me. I think the NFL probably leaked the emails. Why would they? And people have espoused this theory of they wanted to take the focus off the overall Washington investigation.
Yeah, that was already done.
No one was talking about it at the time. It had gone to the back burner. You're right. It still should have been front and center. Yeah. Daniel Snyder should be under that much more scrutiny. But at the time, no one was talking about it. All it did was stir it back up again. Yeah. So did the NFL think it was more important to just screw Jon Gruden and teach him a lesson and get him run out as the Raider coach to reopen up the scrutiny on the entire Washington investigation? I think Goodell's smarter than that. I don't really understand that. You think it was a rogue person who just had an issue with Gruden and wanted to see him get run out of town?
I think it was personal animosity between the commissioner and Jon Gruden. I don't think he thought it out in that it would bring more a higher powered microscope, so to speak, on the Washington investigation. But he said some things about the commissioner that you probably all read and you probably all saw. I think it was about that. I think it was about personal animosity.
Okay. Maybe I'm giving Goodell more credit than that, or more credit than I should. He's a pretty smart guy and has done a very good job.
Definitely a pretty smart guy, but when people attack you personally, sometimes you lose your focus, as they say.
That's a good way to lose how many millions did he get paid last year? 35, 38?
He actually took a pay cut during the pandemic. He had been up to 50 before the pandemic. Yeah, I think he took a haircut.
Took a haircut down to 30, only 38 million. Yeah. That's the case. That's the kind of job I'm going to protect. I'm not going to let personal
you should.
And a man on let me do something stupid to put myself at risk. And that's exactly what he's doing.
I don't think he's putting himself at risk for his job. I think he's putting he's putting the league at risk. And
if he puts the league at risk, then they get sued for hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't think that's going to get his bosses, aka the other owners, calling him on the phone going, Raj, what the hell?
Yes and no. I mean, it's not going to be a number that is in any way detrimental to this league or this business. And that's why I ultimately think they'll settle very quickly. You're probably talking in the $20-30 million range, something like that, which sounds like a lot of money. For them that's a rounding error. So as long as it doesn't hurt the bottom line and the owners look at it as a cost of doing business. I mean, there's 100 things Roger Goodell should have lost his job for, but all they care about is the bottom line. All they care about is how this industry has grown with him as a commissioner, and that's why they like him. And I would say, Roger Goodell's job description, if you put his resume or CV out there, the top line should be lightning rod, because he takes all the criticism. That's why they love him. Nobody in this world, it seems, not nobody, but you get the point, realizes that the guys in charge, the Jerry Joneses of the world, the Robert Krafts, the Jeffrey Lurie's of the world, they're in charge. Roger Goodell works for them.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody seems to realize that when the latest scandal, They blame Roger Goodell for this. They blame Roger Goodell for that. And the owners love that. They love it. They love it. And they love that he's the lightning rod that takes it away from them.
And I think you got an excellent read on it. I've been saying it for years. That's why I think he actually is a pretty good commissioner, because he does what he's supposed to do. This is self-inflicted. If he is the guy, if he made sure that those emails got out just because he had a mad on for Jon Gruden, that's a mistake that Roger Goodell doesn't make.
And maybe it's not Roger Goodell. Maybe it's just somebody else. And maybe it's somebody who's not high profile. But that's what happened. Somebody had a mad on for Jon Gruden. That's what happened. I mean, I don't know who it was. But that's what happened. I mean, you have all those emails. You have all those scurrilous accusations. This league has obfuscated everything from the start. They don't even have a written report. I still remember when we had Dan Lust on.
Yes.
He's like, what lawyer doesn't have a written report? I mean, it's absurd on the surface. They tried to bury that thing. They succeeded. So whoever leaked it is an idiot, to be blunt. And they were going after one particular guy.
Right.
And now, if it gets to the lawsuit and they got to open up all those emails with Daniel Snyder and cheerleaders, and that ain't good, Jody. That's not good.
They had tens of thousands of emails, and the only ones that get out are a couple of Gruden emails to Bruce Allen. Yes, that's a targeted attack at an individual, which just doesn't add up to me. And I actually think Gruden's got a chance, as you said, to get himself a pretty good payday from the NFL, because they don't like to have to hop on the stand and explain themselves. That is something that they keep away from at all costs. All right, we'll get a quickie timeout in here. We're scheduled to talk to Mike Haas. Mike works for a Odyssey station, WWL, down in New Orleans. His first year doing the same games as the play-by-play guy with Deuce McAllister down in New Orleans. I've heard him interviewed before. I've never had him on before, but I was able to get his contact info, and he was excited about coming on the show. We're hoping he's good. A little earlier in New Orleans than it is here up in Philadelphia. But he said he could hop on in our 9:20 spot. So we're hoping he's up next. We're still trying to reach him. Mike Haas, play-by-play guy of the Saints, jumps aboard on Birds.